Salve Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus saw a crowd around him, he gave orders to cross to the other shore. A scribe approached and said to him, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." Jesus answered him, "Foxes have dens and birds of the sky have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to rest his head." Another of his disciples said to him, "Lord, let me go first and bury my father." But Jesus answered him, "Follow me, and let the dead bury their dead." The Gospel of the Lord.
The book of the prophet Amos, if you were awake during the reading, is revealing life in a community that has diluted their devotion to God, and how the culture devolves into a community that uses each other instead of building each other up as God's people have been called to do and live. Now, Amos didn't know about the Holy Trinity in those days, but the Trinity did exist. And what you see is the model of the Holy Trinity of caring of each of the persons referencing to the other, and in a relationship of love. That this is all gone in the community that Amos is speaking to, and as a result, they devolve, and this is why they're in the fix they're in. And while God talks about punishing, what you really see is the revelation of what they have done to themselves, the consequences of their action, which God has allowed, as a loving father will do periodically to their children. Let them feel the sting of their choices. Otherwise, they won't learn. On the other hand, Jesus shows up in the gospel, and he is presenting the fulfillment of all needs. He's presenting the vision of where we're all called to be. And he has two distinct groups that he's dealing with here in this passage as he's on the shore. He sees the crowd, and he orders the disciples to cross to the other shore. The crowd are aware of Jesus' healing capacity. They are aware of all that he has to offer, and they see the beauty of life with Jesus and the benefits of having a personal relationship with him. But they all go back to their families at the end of the day and try as they may to live the teachings that they're receiving for Christ in their own household. But their vocation is still, you could say, to the family or to whatever they're doing. And they're trying to live their commitment to Christ in that context. On the other hand, he invites some of his disciples to get into the boat with him and go away. In other words, break from the crowd, make a radical decision to have a new vocation. It's kind of like what Ryan is doing these days. Okay? So the disciples are invited to cross the sea, and you could see, no pun intended, you can see the whole baptism idea there. They're being invited to plunge and die to themselves. And in the crossing of the sea, you can also see the exodus coming out of there. That there's this movement from a land that may have been holding them captive to a degree, and now they're asked to be journeying into a new land where, unlike the crowd, They are going to make their heart's dedication totally secure in Christ. They're going to cling to nothing else but Christ, dropping their fishing nets, their farming tools, whatever, but they are leaving everything to go to Christ. And this is why Jesus says, I don't have any place to lay my head, and if you want to follow me, that's what we're in for. That's where you're going to lay your head on my chest, like the disciple John, if anything. Or let the dead bury the dead. There are no more attachments. Your vocation now is to be completely consumed by following Christ. This is what he's asking. Now what's interesting is where we're going to go with the gospel next is the calming of the sea. Because we'll get to that tomorrow. When you start to follow Christ, storms will come.
Regina Celi, letare, alleluia, qui